was thinking about today, I was thinking about a piece of scripture from Psalms. It's how good it is for people who dwell together in unity. And although we often don't agree on things, as Rotarians, there's a lot that we do agree on. And I'm thankful for that. So let's pray together. Lord, we come to you today thankful for another day of life, thankful for the opportunity to join together, even if it's from a distance. You have joined us together as a club and as friends and family in ways that are just hard to explain and really grasp. The friendships we have, the missions that you give us as a club, the things that we're able to accomplish together, and we're just thankful for all of that. We ask, Lord, that you'll continue your blessing upon this club and our community and our country, and really all over the world, because there's a lot going on right now. And we ask for your blessing on those that prepared the food today, and for all these things we are grateful. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, let's join for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With Nancy Woods find help, let's sing America the Beautiful.
Announcements. Do we have any announcements that anyone would like to share? We've got a number of announcements today. I've got to read out first.
I would like to, you can tell we're still very uncoordinated and catching our breath from the Kentucky Derby party. Oh my goodness. I look around this room and there were so many people that volunteered and helped out. It was an amazing event. I apologize, these are kind of short notes. It will be our biggest Kentucky Derby ever. Actually by a pretty wide, or by a long shot, let me say, yes, Derby. So we will likely gross close to $30,000, less expenses. We will probably have at least $17,000. We've got some additional items to auction off. Silent auction today after the meeting. If you will go back in the tea room, there's leftover alcoholic beverages, some beer, some wine, a few items that in the mad rush didn't get added to the silent auction. So please check that out. But to give you an idea how much better that is than previous years, the two prior years we cleared close to $11,000 each. The first year we did it was only $6,000 in proceeds, so we basically will exceed any prior year by $6,000 to $7,000. So
Chase, can I make a reading?
Yes, please.
So 2 weeks from today, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. 2 weeks from today, we will not be here. We'll be out at the DDCC at the Ridley Center And just in case you don't go that way, you don't go the way you used to. You have to get off at Evans Road, there's signage to Greensboro Road, and then go in the back door, okay? So just don't want that to catch anybody off guard. When you come home, you gotta come back the same way. Hopefully that'll clear up soon. But that's when we have the Lexington Rotary with us, the coaches, administrators, athletes, and some parents probably from the CCC to give out. They'll give out some annual awards to their athletes of the year, coach of the year, and we will give out the George Cushwa Cup on Charlotte Henry. So hope you can come 2 weeks from today. Don't come here. Okay? Thank you. Oh, and Kim said let her know by next week if you could when you're coming. We just need to get, since we have so many guests, we need to get the folks a number. Okay? Thank you.
So that's again 2 weeks from today. No meeting here. We will be at the community college, the Kushwa Cup. Let Kim know if you already did.
If you plan on coming, so that way we'll tell the papers to write down first.
Let Kim know if you're going to make it. We got a bunch of them. Keith?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
If you haven't had a chance to sign up for the legislative breakfast, it is on May 19th at the and that's our General Assembly folks meetings at 8:30. So if you get a chance to sign up for that, they do a good job. They've had enough time in the long session to be able to give you some feedback. Sometimes we've had it and they couldn't tell you anything, but they should be able to tell you something. Share what you're thinking and all that. If you get a chance to sign up for that, just call Heather or send us it's May 19th at 8:30 at the Fitch House. Thanks.
I just want to give everybody an update on Coach Ridge. Last week on Wednesday, he had knee replacement surgery and some kind of rod put in and attached to his bone. Everybody just really keep him in your prayers. Keep his wife in your prayers because that boy at home, I think they're stir crazy. I'm sure it's going to be tough on her as it is on me. But yeah, just let everybody know about Coach Ridge.
I was going to give an update on Ben Hibbets. As y'all know, her son got executed a couple of Fridays ago. His hands are really bad. He may end up still losing a couple of fingers, so just keep him in prayer. She's waiting on the update when they remove some of the dead skin. The other day they did see positive skin, so keep that in prayer. It'll be okay. Yes.
Just a reminder, we are still selling tickets for our annual dinner of champions on the 28th, as well as sponsorships. Thank you to people in the audience that have already supported the event in some way. So, and if you have any questions or interest, I'll be here after.
Crime Stoppers, Judy, do you want to share with us?
Yes, please sign on your flyers. Now, I know, guys, everybody around is asking you for money. Like this community does, they come together and support the wonderful causes that are going on. Very proud of Thomasville and for that. Really have not advertised this, but everybody's got to eat. So tomorrow, at the farmer's market, come up there and pick up a couple of plates. If you have an order of 10 or more, we'll deliver it. You let me know today. They are big bosom chickens, and they last a long time. You can make a couple of meals on them. I'm not saying that's funny. That's what we order. We want to get them. Very good. You can get them for your Mother's Day meal, and they're pretty good. So I hope to see them to be up there.
Yeah, it's a wonderful meal. My family, we go every year and do lunch together, and so great calls. That is tomorrow. I think there are flyers on your table. Hope you'll join for that. Wonderful calls. Any other announcements? I was going to give one announcement to Kim and I were not able to make the Kentucky Derby tournament or Kentucky Derby party because we were in Cherokee for our district conference for Rotary. And I was going to share that our club received a platinum award once again this year. So wonderful thing for our club. And our incoming district governor gave a wonderful report. We're excited about about the year ahead or what is going to be in store for Rotary. His theme that he shared, you see there, do good stuff. And so I'm excited because I really align with a lot of where his heart is on serving our communities, being a big focus for the year ahead. So, any other announcements? Is that all we've got? That was a whole bunch. Is that all? All right, split the pot.
Oh, we
We
still
did
have
split
this
the pot.
year's, this week, since we're gonna do the silent auction.
Okay. Oh,
And
yeah.
just by the way, I know we can give you advance on the silent auction, so I do have the Square app with me. You can pay by credit card instead of cash. Yes, sir.
Blue buttons on the table.
Oh,
Yes.
cart buckets.
Cart buckets on the table. This is another wonderful, wonderful cause. So please feel free to encourage it. I think that is all we have, and we are ready for our program. Tommy, will you come up and introduce our guests?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So, we were just talking, I've never interviewed anybody, and Linda's never been interviewed by anybody, and we didn't rehearse at all. So, y'all think? You want to leave now? Yeah, we did decide we could sit on the stool. We might look like stool pigeons and provide some entertainment in that way, but anyway, you saw the title of the program in the bulletin, hiking the Appalachian Trail, One Woman's Journey from Georgia to Maine. And I asked Linda 3 or 4 months ago, first of all, I was fascinated by what she did. And you will be too. I said, will you do my Rotary program? And she very quickly basically said, no. So I approached it from a different angle, and she said no. So a few days later, I said, I'm going to ask her another way. And I don't know if it was that one or the next one, but finally she said, Tommy, your persistence is very admirable. I'll do it. So here we are. I've known Linda for many years, had the chance to work with her at the YMCA, and have always held her, as many of you do who know her, in very high regard. She's married to Brian, and they've shared 42 years of marriage, and Linda said that they look forward to many, many more years together, which is awesome. She is the director of Healthy Living at the YMCA, and it just occurred to me that I did not introduce my 2 guests who are actually, I'm pausing here. Tracy Ballard, please stand up. Karen Apple, please stand up. They are both YMCA employees. And they were actually Laura Schweitzer's guests. Laura couldn't be here today, so I apologize for missing that. I'm blaming on Jason Tubman, wherever he is. But anyway, Linda loves the YMCA. She says it's like a great big extended family, and I agree with that based on my time there. In addition to her work at the Y, she works part-time for Christian Granbury as a bookkeeper, keeping him in good stead with the IRS, I'm sure. Linda enjoys hiking. Can you imagine that? She likes working out, helping others reach their goals, and spending time with family and friends. Let's jump in. You ready? The Appalachian Trail, the AT, as it's known, is a remarkable hiking trail spanning almost 2,200 miles from Springer Mountain, Georgia to Mount Katahdin, Georgia. Yeah, show them the map there, Linda. Linda brought a map. I invite you to come up afterwards and check this out. It's 2,200 miles. And I'll get into a little bit more of the detail about that as we move through. It's actually one of the longest continuously marked footpaths in the world. It crosses 14 states and typically takes about 6 months for people to hike it who are hiking it in like one city, so to speak, one continuous journey, so 6 months. So the first question I had when I found out Linda was doing this and accomplished it is, when did you start this? Why did you start it? How many days did it take you? Tell us a little bit about how you chose to do it. Well,
My journey was probably different than it is different than anyone else that I met on the trail. It took me 18 years. And this is why. My best friend, and many of you know, Tracy Brinkley, this was her dream since she was a middle school student before I ever knew her, because we didn't meet until we were adults. And she kept talking about this trail. And so I caught that, and we started the trail together in 2003. We started down in Georgia at Springer Mountain, and we headed north. And 3 years into that, let me back up, really we were only able to go hike 1 to 2 weeks a year when I had vacation time. And so that's one reason it took so long. But the other reason is after 3 years, Tracy had some very serious health problems, and her doctor forbid her to go on the trail anymore. And so that dream kind of died for both of us. 3 years after that happened to Tracy, on a nice spring day, I hope I don't get emotional about this. It was like God spoke to me and said, you need to go back and finish. This is Tracy's dream and it's become your dream. She can't, but you can. And so I went to my husband first, and Brian gave me his blessings. I went to Tracy, and she gave me her blessings, which was very remarkable because that meant that what we started together, she wasn't going to be able to finish together. But after 3 years, I went back out there, and I would just go 1 week to 2 weeks a year, however long I could be away from work. And in 2023, I was able to finish that trail. And take that 3 years out of that 20 years, so it took me 18 years. It's a long journey. Some people would say, well, you could have walked it backwards doing it that long, but sometimes you do what you have to do the way you can do it. So,
how did you stay motivated to keep going back? Because just the logistics of the travel time, like I'm assuming at some point you were traveling from here to New York, here to Maine for a week or two or whatever, then coming back. Just talk about the logistics of that and how you stay motivated.
Logistically, it was a nightmare, but my husband helped me a lot. I had friends who helped me. They would take me, they would drop me off. I used a lot of shuttles. There's the whole trail, 14 states, there is a group of shuttles that help people along the trail. And so I used a lot of those fine folks in the small towns. And a lot of it, I went by myself, and I would park the car up north, take a shuttle to my car, and I'd walk south back to my car to get that section done. But I also had, especially as I got further north, it became harder and harder to do that because of the travel time. So I had, the last 4 years, 2 amazing friends who sacrificed their vacation time each year, those 4 years, to help me finish the northern part, especially through the New England states. And that was a remarkable sacrifice on their part. I will always be indebted to them.
You know, hiking the trail itself is amazing, but just the logistics of how Linda had to do it just blows my mind. You know, I read there are along the trail 250 three-sided shelters spaced about a day's hike apart that provide rest stops. Actually, the one at Fontana Dam Shelter I read is the largest one, and it's nicknamed the Hilton. Now, is it true that you stayed in nice hotels every night with hot showers and meals? Is that, or did you do it a different way? Tell us about what happened after a long day of hiking.
I did use a lot of the shelters along the way, but the shelters that he's talking about are three-sided, there's no front on them. So it's just to get you out of bad weather, actually. And if you're going to be in a shelter, you're going to share it with the mice, sometimes the snakes, and lots of insects. So I used a tent, and most through hikers use a tent because the shelters, you could be shoulder to shoulder with people you've never met before who were trying to get out of that weather. But I did both. I also had what I called an M&M. When it was night, when I knew the weather was going to be nice, the whole time I was going to be out there, I wouldn't even carry a tent a lot of times. I had a netting that people would use on the beach. And I could set that up inside the shelter. And that would keep all of those critters off of me. And I didn't take up any more space to, cause trouble for any other hikers along the way. So there were several different ways that I stayed at night, places I stayed at night. I also did use some hostels. These small towns, some of the people in those towns, they are giving people. They've taken garages and set them up as hostels for hikers that can come, and for a small fee, you can stay there and grab a shower, grab a meal. They'll shuttle you to the bigger towns so you can resupply. There's a lot of support along the trail from complete strangers. It's that was part of the remarkable part of this journey, just meeting all those people.
Well, describe some of the most breathtaking or memorable moments, experiences, just what comes to mind?
Well, when you hit Katahdin, after all those miles, that's pretty emotional. There's a picture there. The day that we summited, and when I say we,
I'll just pass this around.
one of my good friends was with me that day, and we summited that mountain, and you would think you've taken this long journey and you're going to be the only one up there, but there were probably 15 people up there that summited the same day we did, and it's like a big party. And it's just, we called it a pretty clear day. It wasn't totally clear. The clouds kind of rolled in on us a bit, but we called it a pretty good day. You could see for miles. And everybody stands on the big Katahdin sign, has their picture made, and it's just that moment. That's pretty incredible. It's like, you love that you're there, but you also realize it's the end of this thing that you've enjoyed doing all these years. So it's mixed emotions up there.
When they get to the top of Mount Everest, I think they snap a photo and then start heading back down. Did you hang out for a little while at the top?
We hung out. There was a group of young men who had done a through hike. When I say young men, they were 20-something. We didn't want to leave because they were pretty entertaining. Their view of being up there the journey was totally different than mine. For me, it was like a spiritual journey, an emotional journey. For them, it was, hey, we're big tough guys and we did it. So just watching them, hanging out up there with them a bit, we didn't just pack our stuff and leave. That was pretty incredible.
I also read that the highest point is Cleveland's Dome in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, over 6,600 feet above sea level. The lowest is Bear Mountain Recreation Area in New York at 124. And it also went on to say that the total elevation gain in hiking the full trail equals climbing Mount Everest 16 times.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Congratulations on that. What was the most challenging stretch and what made it so of the trail? Maybe it's hard to pick one out, but tell us about several. You and Jason were just talking. Where's Jason? Jason Tugger. You hiked the what? Katahdin. And you were talking about how you had to watch every step and all that. So tell us what was challenging.
For me, some of the times when I was by myself were challenging because there was a little bit of a fear factor. I don't want to paint a bad picture of the AT, but it's just like being in this wonderful community of Thomasville. There are some folks that are not out there for the right reason. And I did run into some people that scared me, made me want to move on, even though that may have been where I was going to stay that evening. So you had to be on your guard. But probably the most challenging state for me was Pennsylvania. It's a small state, you're not in there long, but I had to come off the trail 3 times in that state, twice for injuries and once because of a drought. And so I thought I'd never be out of Pennsylvania. I also got lost in Pennsylvania. Tom, I'll show you that story real quickly. This was totally my fault. I was traveling alone. I had not seen anyone for about 3 days. And I came to I always gave my husband my itinerary. He knew where I was going to be each night. But I got to this place that I was going to camp that night early. It was a beautiful day. And I thought, I can go further. Tomorrow will be easier. So I went about 3 more miles. And I came to this different campsite that was not on the map, but it was perfect. So I set up all my stuff. I fixed my dinner. Let me back up. I went and found a tree to hang my food for the night, so I had my rope hanging up there. And I went and made my dinner, and the wind started blowing in, so I thought I better take care of business and bed down for the night. So I put my fire out because of the wind. And I went to the tree, and I had counted my steps to the tree and knew which direction and all the things you're supposed to do as a responsible adult. But when I put my bag of food up there, the limb wasn't quite at the right angle, and it just slid back to the trunk of the tree, which does absolutely no good. Well, that made me angry. So I started looking around for another tree, and there just weren't any good trees for a bear hang. And then all of a sudden, the sun kind of went behind one of the mountains, and I thought, it's getting dark. I need to head on back. I'll figure this out. And I realized because of my anger, I had stomped around in those woods. I had no idea where I was. And there was no light at my camp because I put my fire out. So I started doing this grid, walking like this, as it kept getting darker and darker and darker. And I could not find my camp. Now, remember, everything I had with me was there, laying out in the open. And finally, it got so dark, I almost stepped in this great big hole. And I said, okay, God, I've got to stop. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to stop for the night. So that night, I had to keep in mind, I've been trying to hang my food. I always keep in my food bag 2 big trash bags, just in case something weird happens. And this was kind of weird. So the hole that I almost stepped in was big enough for me to sleep in. So I slept in that hole. It got down to 30-some degrees. I had my fleece on, but I was in shorts, had my toboggan on, but I had nothing else with me. I pulled those 2 bags out, put one over my head, not to kill myself, but put my head through, and the other on my legs, and I pulled big tree branches over that hole and stayed there, didn't sleep much that evening. Resting my head on that silly food bag that I'd been trying to hang so that I could be safe. And I just prayed all night. The next morning, I got up, tried to get my bearings. I thought I'll walk the grid the other way. I did that for quite a while, nothing. So I just stopped. I'm like, God, I need some help here. I don't know where I am. I don't know where my stuff is. My phone was dead because I was going to charge it that night. My charger was back at my tent. And I saw something shiny through the woods. So I just walked to it. And lo and behold, it was a mailbox at another campsite that somebody had put up to keep the trail register in. And they had been repainted very recently. That's the shiny thing I saw. So I get to this mailbox and I'm like, okay, now I gotta figure out which way I need to go. Where's the trail first? And which way do I need to go when I find it? So I'm just standing there. I hadn't had any sleep, so I can't even think to look at the sun and figure out which is east and west. I stepped around the other side of that mailbox and realized I'm standing on the trail and somebody had put a north and a south sign on that mailbox. So I knew which way to go. I went probably no further than the length of a football field, but it was kind of windy and curvy, and all my stuff was laying out there just like I left it. I shook out that sleeping bag to make sure nothing crawled in there and took a nap. And got up the next morning and went on my way. That was probably the scariest night that I had out there.
I don't know about y'all, but my heart rate just surged during that story. I would have headed straight to the nearest small town the next day. But Linda kept going. You know, speaking of the paint on the mailbox or whatever I was reading, the trail is marked, and some of y'all know this, by 165,000 white rectangular blazes painted on trees or rocks or posts, roughly every 100 to 200 yards to guide the hikers. Boy, you would have given anything to see one of those, I guess, at that moment. Well, I had in my notes asked you if you ever got lost, so that's good to know you were found. Funny or unexpected moments, maybe flipping the coin over.
I don't really remember, I mean, I had a lot of fun, but I don't really remember any funny moments.
You're all business.
All business, yeah.
Did you ever really get discouraged, not just in that night? I mean, did you get discouraged, like, why am I doing this? Should I continue doing this? You probably don't want to talk about this, but I think I remember you going to hike some, taking your vacation from the Y, and I was thinking, I thought Linda was injured. How can she go hike the Appalachian Trail when she's injured? Is that true?
Well, yeah, I was out there a few times with a few lower knees or ankle things, but when you only have a small window of opportunity, and I have to emphasize to you guys that this was not just about me. This was about Tracy Brinkley too. This was her dream that she allowed me to be a part of. And that's what kept me going in those moments when it got hard or I had an injury or whatever, or I ran into somebody that scared me a little bit. Just power through it, trust what you set out to do, and make this dream come true. And that was always my focus. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I was reading, among the potential encounters of wildlife, I think the list was, it looked to be 100 long. But among the potential ones that I took note of are black bears, timber rattlesnakes, copperheads, moose, skunks, bobcats, coyotes, bats, yellow jackets, ticks, and black flies. So, what did you run into?
Snakes and insects, of course. You do have to be careful of the hornet's nest along the way because they like to set up on that trail because it's cleared so they can have lots of space to do their thing. I wanted to see a moose up in New England states. I tried my best to see a moose. Sometimes you can catch them in the water really early, so I would even get out early on the trail and try to catch them in the small lakes and stuff. I never got to see one. I talked to people that walked right by one, but I never had that pleasure. The closest I got to a bear, I had probably probably 5 times I actually saw a bear that was near me. The closest one was probably from here to that wall. I got an early start one morning. I was the first one out of the shelter that night. And I think I actually woke this bear up. He was in a bunch of, he or she, I don't know, was in a bunch of brush, came up shaking its head, and the only thing I knew to do was walk faster, so that's what I did.
With the heart rate surging at that point, I'm sure. Did hiking the trail change you in any way?
Well, I'm sure it did. I hope for the best that it changed me in those ways. It gave me, I do know that it helped me in my trust of other people. It helped me to recognize the people that I can trust a little better. You kind of learn out there just the way people would talk to you, the way they would stand The questions they would ask kind of became intuitive, and I think that helped me along the way.
This is my last question, and I want to see what questions y'all have. I couldn't stop Googling on this whole thing, and I saw that the average number of steps that a person takes when they hike the whole trail is 5 million steps, which, if I did my math right, a lot of people try to get 10,000 steps a day. Well, it takes you 500 days to do 10,000 steps. So 5 million steps is a lot of steps. And I guess my question is, the first mile or two of the trail, do you remember your thoughts? And the last mile or two of the trail, your thoughts?
Well, the first mile or two, we were just so excited, Tracy and I, just to be out there. We were just thinking that we were just blessed to be on this adventure together. So that's our total focus. The last mile of the trail was very emotional for me, especially coming up those last few miles of Katahdin, just because of what it all meant. Because it wasn't, as I said, it wasn't just my dream. I hooked on to somebody else's dream. And the people along the way that helped me, the support of my husband, because remember, I'm giving up vacation time, that means he's not getting vacation at all. He sacrificed all those years, and that is an incredible thing that brought the two of us actually closer together, because it helped me appreciate the man that he is even more than I did. But finishing that trail, and I know I keep saying Tracy Brinkley, but those of you that know her, you know why. Because when you know her and what she does in this community and what she's been through with her health, to be able to complete that, because she's the one that got me started on it, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Pretty amazing story, isn't it, folks? Who's got a question for Lenny?
What was your trail name?
I started out with a trail name called Go Fig, which was short for Go Figure Things Out. And about halfway through, I gave up the trail name because I know who I am. And so I just was Linda out there.
Jerry.
So Keith Tobin and I are planning on starting the AT this fall. I think we're laughing at you more than So seriously though, somebody that is going to do that, is there any particular advice that you would give that person? Maybe you're like, I wish somebody would have told me this before. Somebody that's going to set out to do that.
Yes, when we started out, we were carrying too much stuff on our backs. Part of that was financial. You have to kind of grow into what you're going to carry with you. But lightweight stuff is really expensive. There's more available now. The prices have come down some because these small, a lot of cottage industries, they have come out with some great equipment. But over time, you get what you need. And you realize the things you don't need. So what I would advise is to find somebody that's done the trail and say, this is what I think I need. Pull out what you know I don't need. So that you can start a little bit lighter. That's really important. Whatever you have on your back multiplies what's going on in your lower body out there. So the lighter you can go, the better.
Y'all need to leave the 5-pound bag of Jolly Ranchers at home, Jerry.
What was your diet like while you were on the trail?
Horrible. Typically, I would start the morning with a protein bar, or I have to eat gluten-free, so that cut out a lot of stuff. But you can get gluten-free, what am I trying to say, Pop-Tarts, anything that grab and go because I don't like to eat right out of bed. I work out before I eat. So I would want to walk a while, so I just have those in my pocket and eat when I was ready. Lunch would usually be crackers, pepperoni, cheese, peanut butter. The only time I fired up the stove was at night, and I would have a hot meal of some sort, usually just dehydrated and just add water. You just simplify as much as you possibly can. And also, all those kind of things don't weigh much. You don't want to carry anything that has water in the container, like a can of tuna, anything like that. You don't want to carry that with you.
I'm sure Linda will be glad to stick around for a few questions afterwards. I do think we have time for a couple more. I saw like 5 hands go up. Larry, I think was...
Is the trail hard to follow?
No. The volunteer groups, the trail clubs along the way, like there's a Roanoke Club that's huge, they do a great job of keeping the trail marked. Every now and then you might come across a place that's been kind of not taken care of for a while, and that might be because of turnover of leadership in that club or something has happened in that town. One thing we did learn though, Larry, is when you're walking along, if you lose sight, and you're not sure you're on the trail, which can happen, if you'll turn around and look the other way, a lot of times you'll see that you just passed a marker behind you. So you know you're headed in the right direction. So you just learn those little tricks along the way. Got caught in the snow a couple of times, and that makes it a little more difficult. I tried to avoid winter weather because I was by myself so much because the level of danger just increases. But those people that hike in the snow, when the snow's stuck on those trees and you've got white on white, I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
You mentioned water earlier, you carry the dehydrated food, water. Is it something you always carry with you?
Yes, and a filtration system. We started out with a pump filtration system, Tracy and I did. We graduated to the little Sawyers. Simple, lightweight. Usually I would carry 2 smart water bottles full of water, and that could get me to the next source of water. But only a couple of times in Pennsylvania in a drought, it's hard to find water.
One more, Cameron.
My stepbrother, he's hiked a lot of this, and I texted him to show you how awesome you are, and he told me to ask if you confess at 3 ridges. I don't know. Did you confess at 3 ridges?
I confess almost every day about something. A thought, something I did wrong, whatever. But no.
Very spiritual.
I think so.
Linda Fitzgerald, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that's inspiring, really. And Danny Lynn and I were talking. I think he and I have both done sections of the trail and tried to tackle a couple of the peaks, but to do the whole thing, it takes a lot of toughness and grit. And so, wow. Yeah. What was I was going to ask this? What was the wind like, Mount Washington? Peaking Mount Washington.
Interesting you bring up Mount Washington. I have a story. Do you have time?
We got a couple minutes.
Mount Washington, when I was summiting Mount Washington with my 2 friends, actually one friend, his wife was supporting us along the way. His name's Marcus. And it was my birthday when we were going to summit Mount Washington. They had set up, flew Tracy Bleakley up there. And we were sitting at a hostel on a picnic table and waiting for April. And Marcus said, well, here she comes, and I turned around, and the car was parked right behind me, and Tracy Brinkley got out of that car. They set that up so that Tracy could enjoy Mount Washington. She and April took the train up, and Marcus and I went up, and we were able to have that together. The wind up there was your question. Wow. Wow. It'll blow you off of there if you're not careful. You don't get near the edge.
That's incredible. I think when a few years ago, I hiked to the top of Mount Washington and was surprised there's a sign there that says, still to this day, the highest recorded wind speed in the world, 230 some or some odd miles an hour. I couldn't keep a hat on. It was wild. Thank you so much for sharing. Can we just applaud it? And if you have more questions, please feel free to ask after the meeting. So let's stand together. I will remind you really quickly too that we still have some items back there to bid on. So as you make your way out, feel free to go back there. Grab some bid. Well, as we leave today, again, we just challenge you as a club to have eyes that are open to see the needs of our community, to ears open to hear them, and hearts that are open to serve. And in all the things that we think, say, or do first,
is the truth, is there all concerned, will it build goodwill and better friendships, will it be beneficial to all concerned.